cat. Hey, what's up guys, ImpulseEvan here, and today I'm bringing you guys another video. In this video I'm going to be reacting to RyeToast's theory on Cassie is not who you think she is. That was a weird sentence. I'm reacting to his theory called Cassie's not who you think she is. FNAF Ruin Theory. So it's about 15 minutes long. I reacted to his first Ruin Theory, so I wanted to react to this one just to see what he would say. I've heard a little bit about it, but like, I don't know like what the main point of the video is. So it goes, who was Cassie in FNAF Ruin? Add, what happens to Cassie in Ruin? Why did the Mimic reach out to Cassie in Ruin? What does Security Breach tell us about Cassie's dad? I'm assuming he means Ruin, or is he going to... Oh, all staff meeting? Maybe he's going to talk about the actual staff meeting where, like, the staff died and stuff. What does the Candy Cadet story mean? And who's Cassie and her dad? Alright, so, I'm interested to see what he's going to say, so let's get started here.
Security Breach Ruin came out and blew away effectively 99% of the fan base.
Yes,
and it reignited
it
a
did,
passion in the
including
fandom
me.
That was honestly a little needed. But
Yeah.
one of the most intriguing parts about Ruin is the lore that it presented. New characters, new animatronics, even new protagonists, and Cassie. We don't get all that much information about her compared to other video game protagonists, but for FNAF standards, we honestly know a lot about her. Or do we, really? Slices, put on your aprons, and let's bake ourselves a theory. So what is the story of Cassie? At first, all we know is that she's a girl
see two
of a
RyeToasts
similar
on the
age to
screen.
Gregory,
And a new
that
cat.
she's friends with him enough to go to this scary abandoned pizzaplex to meet him. As the
What
game
happened to the
goes
other cat?
on, we begin to learn more about her. When we pick up the Roxy talkie after hearing Gregory's voice,
Roxy
we
is
learn
her
that
favorite.
he's trapped under Roxy Raceway and that we agree to go find him. We also learn that Roxanne Wolf is Cassie's favorite character. Keep that in mind because it's important later on. Quickly after, we learn more about Cassie's family, namely her father. When we pick up the Faz Wrench, one of the main 3 items in the game, she remarks that it looks just like her dad's. Her dad? The Faz Wrench is an item described as being used by Faz technicians. So this implies that her father was a Faz technician at the Pizzaplex. If this one
What
looks
did
just
that
like
say?
So this implies that her father was a...
If you get this pun, then you're a real nerd, but you also get me. So if you think you know what pun I'm making, then leave a comment so I can see if you're right. What?
The Faz Wrench is an item described as being used by Faz technicians. So this implies that her father was a Faz technician at the Pizzaplex, if this one looks just like his. But that's not the only information about her father that affirms this detail.
I don't
Later,
know.
when we get an AR Glam Bonnie plush, Cassie notes that her father never told her what happened to him. If her father knew what happened to him, he would have not only had to be part of the company, but pretty high up. Not only does this nearly confirm that he worked for the Pizzaplex, but he also worked here fairly recently. We're not talking about someone who used to work at the Pizzaplex but retired and is living with his daughter. Bonnie was put out of commission so quickly that although they did change most of the art in the Pizzaplex, they still didn't have an official corporate story to what happened to Bonnie. As of Security Breach.
Not really, actually. I'd like to combat that by saying that the Monty ride kind of is that, like that officially approved response, which I mentioned in a YouTube short. And what else did he say?
Bonnie was put out of commission so...
Oh, yeah. Bonnie was, considering that I'm pretty sure in one of the stories of Tales from the Pizzaplex that takes place earlier in the timeline. I don't remember which one exactly. Earlier in the Pizzaplex timeline, I mean. I don't remember which story exactly, but I'm pretty sure that Monty already has his own green room, and Monty's green room was originally Bonnie's, so meaning that Bonnie was put out of commission like really early in the Pizzabox's runtime. So Bonnie probably was destroyed a long time, like right at the beginning of the Pizzaplex era.
So quickly that although they did change most of the art in the Pizzaplex, they still didn't have an official corporate story to what happened to Bonnie. As of Security Breach, we can honestly assume that her father was most likely working there until at least Security Breach, which brings me to something else about her father. A lot of the information we get about him describes him in the past tense. Dad wouldn't tell me instead of dad won't tell me. My dad used to collect these instead of my dad collects these. Bonnie was my dad's favorite instead of Bonnie is my dad's favorite. The repeated use of the
I would argue that that doesn't necessarily have to mean that, like, he is the past tense. Bonnie wouldn't tell me what happened. Dad wouldn't tell me what happened to Bonnie. She could just be saying, and same thing for Bonnie being her dad's favorite. If the Pizzaplex is shut down now, then he probably doesn't really Like, there's not really any point in, like, keeping what happened to Bonnie a secret from her or telling her. And there's not really a point in having a favorite either, because the Pizzaplex is kind of shut down, so what's really the point of that? And also the cartoon lunchboxes, he used to collect them. That doesn't really mean anything either, because it could just be like he collected all of them. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that he's not dead. I'm just saying that this doesn't necessarily mean that he is.
Past tense makes me assume that her father is most likely dead, for who knows how long, but at least long enough that being reminded of him with the Faz wrench didn't seem to upset her. And for a while, that's really all we get about Cassie.
Alive.
Honestly, that's all we get about her for the majority of the game. But then Roxy Raceway starts telling us more, starting with the Roxy Salon. We get a bunch of cardboard cutouts of Roxy hanging out with Cassie.
That section of the game is really interesting.
Makeup and things like that. We also get these two cardboard cutouts back to back of Gregory giving something to Cassie, and then Cassie in tears looking at Gregory's missing posters. It seems as though we're right to assume that Cassie really likes Roxy, although at this point we're not 100% sure why. We can also assume that this is part of the reason why Cassie is so willing to help Gregory. They are close friends if these images are to be believed. And then of course, the scene that gave a lot of us a lot of dread, shutting off Roxy right outside of the end.
That wasn't really dreadful.
However,
it was just kind of sad.
When we encounter Roxy, she gives us a lot of information. She tells us that she remembers our special day, most likely a birthday party, and most likely our 11th birthday party. Now, she just says it was the 11th, so this could be a date.
I'm pretty sure she meant the date.
Suggests that it was our 11th birthday. And finally, she says,
I don't think
I'm sure
so.
your friends will.
It could have just been like the 11th of the month. It could have even like. It could have been that it happened last year, and Roxy's just like, Roxy thinks that it's happening again this month soon. I don't think the lack of a, like, even if that's not the case, I don't think the lack of a month really suggests that it's her 11th birthday. I mean, I could see her being 11 or like 12 around that age, but I don't think that that's what the 11 thing is kind of, I don't think that's what that is referring to.
Show up next time. Have you booked your party yet? And suddenly, everything clicks. That's why Roxy is her favorite. That's why she's so willing to help Gregory this far in this dangerous mission. Cassie has no other friends. On her 11th birthday, she was completely alone. Her father didn't even show up. He might have already been dead by the time that happens. There's only one animatronic there, Roxy. She tries to have a fun day, bonding with Roxy, doing makeovers and everything like it, but it only helps so much. She's still sad and alone. Until Gregory, that is. He comes to her birthday and they become friends quickly. She's willing to go this far to save Gregory because he is her only friend. She has to save him, just like he saved her. After this
she has no friends.
Rough moment, we go deeper down. We find the room keeping the thing in the basement locked away. Turning off Mexis and breaking down the wall, we encounter it. What we thought was Gregory. We encounter the Mimic. Roxy, somehow still alive.
I don't know how she's alive.
For a time being. And Gregory, the real Gregory, gets a hold of us. He tells us that he's been trying to get a hold of us this whole time, which I am inclined to believe.
That is definitely true. Not only because the files differentiate the Mimic as Gregory and the real Gregory, but also because earlier in the game there's actually an Easter egg where Gregory hacks into a staff bot and tries to reach out to Cassie, but like it doesn't work. The staff bot breaks. So that was like an early hint that it wasn't the real Gregory in the basement. I actually got that Easter egg the first time I played the game, and I didn't even know it was an Easter egg. I thought it was just part of the game.
After all, halfway through the game...
Because, like, the staff bot usually says, do you need assistance? But then, in this case, in the Easter egg, it says, in Gregory's voice, like, Cassie's name.
Trying to get a hold of us this whole time, which I am inclined to believe. After all, halfway through the game, there's a rare moment that only some people got. This jump scare...
Yes. Like I just said.
Bastard.
Do you need assistance?
No.
Do you need assistance?
Go away. Can occasionally be replaced with this.
I like his facial expressions here.
Cassie, is that you? Gregory?
When I first got that Easter egg, when I first played the game, I actually thought that it was the Mimic. I thought that it was like him trying to talk to us, like through like the staff bot. I don't know why I thought that, because why can't I just talk through the Roxy Talkie or whatever? But yeah, that was my initial thought. I don't know why I thought that.
Cassie, is that you?
No.
Gregory?
That feels like the real Gregory trying to get a hold of Cassie.
It is, absolutely.
To me anyway. He tells us to listen to his friend's instructions to get us to an elevator to escape. Once there, he lets us know more about Mexus, that it was created and designed to hide this thing in the basement.
I've seen that
then
comparison
he switches
before.
tone, tells us that he's sorry, but he has to make sure that we're not followed, and drops the elevator. Now, I have reasons to believe that Gregory isn't the one talking to us at the end of this ending, and
I understand
instead
that
the mimic
belief.
took back over, but that's a topic for another video. For now, we're
I mean, you talked about
focusing
that in
on
the previous
Cassie,
one too.
But
So.
is that it? What else could we possibly know about her? Well, I think there is more to her and her father, and the key to solving it, frankly, is
What
through
is
the
that?
premise of the game. Gregory never wanted Cassie to go to the Pizzaplex, so the initial message that she got from Gregory to meet at the Pizzaplex was fake. Okay, so then the mimic sent that message. Well, therein lies the problem. How did the mimic contact Cassie? Or why did he even think to contact her in the first place? Sure, the mimic can learn Gregory's voice from the security logs throughout the Pizzaplex, but why would it know to contact Cassie? Or how could it even reach her? It has no service, no
That's what I've been
freedom,
wondering
no
too.
money.
I don't know.
The only thing it could do is something free and easy that supports someone, like subscribing to my new second channel, RyeToast, that's launching.
I knew it
videos
was
today.
coming.
My wife and I's playthrough of Faith Chapter 1 and Part 1 of my Security Breach Ruin playthrough.
Nice.
Link right here. Thank you so much. It's highly edited content. It'll be variety. It'll be every week, and it's edited by the very talented Queen Coda. I'll see you there.
Nice.
But in all seriousness, all the mimic could physically do is wander around the room that it's locked in. But if you look around the room we're adjacent to, putting on the Vanny mask, you'll see a bunch of destroyed security nodes lying around the floor. It was destroying its bonds while it was in its cage. That's why I think Gregory and Vanny cemented over the door. They knew it was already trying to break out. And specifically, I think Gregory and Vanessa are the ones that cemented him into that room specifically because of the Gregory backpack right outside the vent, right outside the room. But that's, again, theory for another day. Whatever locked it down here started placing security nodes all over the Pizzaplex to try to distance it from the ones it was already breaking, which means in some digital way it can reach into this room. And what do we have in this room? The machine that was created to contain it that presumably it can't directly interact with, and the console used to modify the machine, but it's a console nonetheless. So who would have used that console last? Well, let's step back and get a broader picture to see if we can answer that. A recurring theme in the duffel bag messages of Security Breach is that although she wasn't being sloppy, Vanny's shenanigans were starting to be noticed by several of the human staff. But right as a few of them were about to uncover something big, they were all called in to the all-staff meeting. Specifically, one that was after hours, Cake was promised at, and that all service staff were required to go.
I'm pretty sure, whoops, I think that was mostly, not entirely, but like it was mostly about like killing all the rest of the security guards, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong about that, but wasn't it because of like the staff bots like taking over kind of like all the security jobs in the Pizzaplex and all the like just the staff jobs. It's obviously not just the security bots, but like those are like the majority of what's around there, and there's obviously the mop bots and stuff. So it's just like getting rid of all of the staff. Would that include Cassie's dad? I'm assuming that's where he's gonna go with this. It very well may. Like I said before, I don't think Cassie's dad has to be dead, but he very well may be. But yeah, I'm assuming that's where he's gonna go with this.
Now, a lot of people have theorized that although mass firing was already taking place because of the staff bot success, this all-staff meeting was Vanny's way of tying up any loose ends, killing off people that would have otherwise uncovered what was really going on. Pretty much any service staff who would be poking around places they shouldn't be. Mainly people like janitors, kitchen workers, and technicians. And security guards like too. Cassie's dad. Well, we know he's dead, but why would we assume
we don't
that
know
he was
that,
getting too close to Vanny? What could he have found? Why was he digging? The answers lie in Candy Cadet. Right before the ending of the game, we see Candy Cadet, who tells us a 5-part story. The story tells us about a mother and a son who live in a cabin in the woods. In the woods, there's a monster that the mother locks in the basement. Every night, the mother sings a lullaby to the son and then leaves. Eventually, the monster stops growling and instead learns the lullaby. It sings it once, the son goes to the door and opens it. The story ends there, but like, the monster kills the son. It's pretty straightforward. For a while, I was thinking that this story was detailing what
Or at least
Vanessa and
tries to.
Gregory do in between Security Breach and Ruin. They
I did not
find
think
the
that, no.
monster, trap it underground, and then eventually it learns to mimic the sun. But there's two
Well,
problems
that
with
is
it.
kind of what I
First
thought,
off,
but-
Vanessa and Gregory aren't mother and son. They're just two people.
Well, that's
Granted,
not the
that's
connection.
Not a huge issue because it is a story, so it's supposed to be a metaphor.
Yeah.
But
I'll just explain what I think the story is about. I think that because Gregory is meant to represent the mother, like you just said. It's a story, so it's not meant to be like exactly like accurate. Gregory's obviously not a mother, but he's not representative of the son either. Gregory is representative of the mother, while Cassie is the son. And Gregory, along with Vanessa, obviously, but Gregory locks the mimic in the basement. And the mimic is the monster. He's not like he's now locked in the basement of the cabin, right? The cabin being like the Pizzaplex, pretty much. So Cassie is the son, and Gregory basically, obviously, he's friends with Cassie, and his voice is the lullaby in question. And the mimic learns his voice, and then the monster lures the son to the basement to try to kill them, and then in Ruin, which this happens right after the Candy Cadet story, so I feel like it's really trying to like come up, like trying to point us in the right direction, that it's the mimic, right? That the mimic is what we're gonna find. I didn't expect it to be the mimic as just the endoskeleton, but that's what it ended up being. But just the mimic in general is what was implied. So Gregory is the mother. He locks the mimic in the basement. The mimic learns Gregory's voice, which is the lullaby, and then he lures Cassie to the basement of the Pizzaplex, just like the monster lures the son to the basement so that he can kill them. Whether or not he succeeds in killing the son is technically up for debate, but obviously he doesn't seem to succeed to kill Cassie.
the real issue here is that in the story, the son is the one that was tricked by the lullaby. Meanwhile, Gregory isn't tricked. Cassie is the one that falls for
yeah.
it. But now I'm thinking that it wasn't about Vanessa and Gregory at all, but it was about a family. Okay, I think I've got it. Here's the real story of Cassie and her father. Mr. Cassie's dad worked at the Pizzaplex since its inception. Gifted with technology and a deep lover of the franchise, Bonnie was his favorite after all, he thought his talents could lend to the creation of something wonderful. And as a fast technician, it did. Oh, goodbye. He was able to work alongside the animatronic characters that he loved, and his daughter Cassie could stay at the daycare while he did it. It was hard for her to make friends, spending most of her time at the daycare of the Pizzaplex, but she understood that this was for the best. Besides, she did have a lot of fun at the daycare, and having a dad who worked at the Pizzaplex came with its benefits. She was able to ride the Foxy log flume, although it was never open to the public. But when Bonnie, her dad's favorite animatronic, seemed to disappear one day, he got a lot more focused on his work. She asked him what happened to Bonnie, but he refused to tell her. Truthfully, he wasn't too sure himself. Bonnie goes to Monty. I'm
just wondering how this is going to connect to Candy Cadet.
Suddenly he turns up in the back of Bonnie Bowling, destroyed, surrounded by a smashed bowling ball. None of it made sense. Nothing added up. So he started snooping. He traced the electrical signals going from the animatronics, trying to figure out what was causing them to act erratically. Eventually, he found a current of electricity pooling underneath Roxy Raceway. The same current electricity that was causing all of these brownouts. Going even deeper, eventually, he found it. The mimic, the creature underneath the Pizzaplex.
Okay, I know what he's going to say. He's going to say that the dad is the mother, Cassie is the son, and then that Cassie's dad was the one that created mixes, which locked the mimic in the basement. I can see that being the case, considering mixes is a bunny, obviously, and it's blue like Bonnie is. But the problem with that, in my opinion, is that Cassie's dad isn't the voice that is mimicked by the mimic. He hasn't finished talking yet, so maybe he's gonna say something else. I'm just trying to like predict what he's gonna say. I feel like that's kind of where it's gonna go. But let's just keep going.
Being locked away.
I'll continue saying what I'm going to say if I'm right about what he's going to say.
Confused and doesn't really understand what's going on, but between the mimic being there, the Mexis machine, and the console to use it, he starts to piece things together. As a fast technician, Mr. Cassie's dad would be pretty smart, and so he works on the Mexis unit, placing security nodes all over the basement and expanding its coverage.
So he doesn't make mixes, but he like solidifies it kind of. I think is what he's saying. In that case, who would have created mixes, and when? Because I feel like I honestly think that not Cassie. I honestly think that Gregory and Vanessa created mixes because they're the ones that trapped the mimic in the room. So considering that mixes is like the console is in that room right next to the mimic, it seems like Gregory and Vanessa would have made it to keep the mimic trapped.
Placing security nodes throughout the facility, trying to cut off its access points. And to make sure no one messes with these security nodes, he creates sort of a digital watchdog that can tell when someone's trying to hack in.
Okay, so he did create mixes, but not the security protocol, just like the digital version of him.
Finds that person, it simply summons a nearby animatronic. After all, most animatronics in the facility are programmed to be able to handle and safely extract any ne'er-do-wells. So what's the harm in having a distress signal? He styles this watchdog after his favorite animatronic, Bonnie. But before he can finally finish the entire system, he's called to the all-staff meeting. We cut to much later. The mimic eventually is able to disable all of the nearby security nodes, but it still can't get out. There's security nodes that are just too far away and it can't reach. It needs a decoy. It needs someone else to deactivate those on its behalf so it can leave. It once again digitally extends to the nearby room, and it finds the console. Not only that, it finds that someone was logged in to the console recently. Mr. Cassie's dad. Someone who would not only have credentials in the system, but a linked daughter in the system who stayed at the daycare. A daughter with contact information. Using the only voice it's been able to mimic, Gregory, it reaches out to that daughter. And luckily enough, she responds. I want to be very clear here. I don't think Mr. Cassie's dad was actually the one to build Mexus. The machine is incredibly rusted and aged. It's honestly the oldest looking thing in that room. I think somebody else built Mexus, but it's someone we know. However, covering that is going to need to be its own video. For now, if you want to know about everything else that happens in Ruin, the video is right there going over all the lore. In the meantime, a huge shout out to the best channel members, the Dough Risers. And until next time, as always, stay toasty, slices.
Alright, I can definitely see that being the case with Cassie's dad making mixes, or not making mixes, but making solidifying it, trapping the mimic, keeping making the digital version or whatever. But I personally think it's Gregory and Vanessa, but I can completely see it being Cassie's dad. The thing is, though, I don't think that connects in any way to the Candy Cadet story, because in Candy Cadet's story, it was the one who trapped the monster whose voice was mimicked. Meaning that the one who trapped the monster, since it's Vanessa and Gregory, it has to be one of those two. The mother has to be one of those two. And since it's mimicking their voice, it has to be Gregory. And so I don't think, even though I can completely see Cassie's dad being the one to create mixes, I don't think that the Candy Cadet story has anything to do with that. But that's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and let me know what you think of the theory. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys!